Hello, everybody. Welcome to Episodic, the podcast where we destigmatize bipolar disorder and we're all around cool guys.
Yeah.
I'm Andrea Allen.
I'm Jonathan. This is episode 12.
Let's go.
Let's go. How are you, Andrea?
My stomach hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Andrea's
feeling
got stomach issues sometimes.
Every woman I know specifically is like, well, 80% of the time my stomach hurts, but we just kind of rock with it. I'm like, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
feel like women just have to deal with a bunch of bullshits and keep it moving.
You got to keep it hustling. You got to carry the baby. You know what I mean? You got to go to work.
Wow.
As a working class mother, that is the struggle I go through.
You're stealing working class mother valor
Yes.
right up top?
Right up top.
On the pod?
On the
Andrea,
pod.
Unbelievable.
Working class mother wearing a micro t-shirt and a chain with spikes on it. I am the working class. No, I think there's a gut-brain connection thing that I could talk endlessly about, but I'm not feeling great. But nevertheless, we pod.
We pod.
The pod must go on.
Well, I appreciate you powering through.
Hey, man.
Because
Love it.
you're a professional.
Working class mother professional.
It's true.
Well, so John worked for Redacted Tonight, which I'll cue up.
It's true. Yeah. I worked on a comedy news show called Redacted Tonight, hosted by this political comedian named Lee Camp. And we did really a great political satire that I'm super proud of. Mm-hmm. And over the course of working there for 5 years, I had 2 manic episodes.
Was it 2?
I did. And I managed to, weather the storm of the first one and not get fired from the job because of something called the FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act.
That's very cool.
Yeah, which is basically if you have some sort of ailment, I believe a mental ailment, you can apply for the Family Medical Leave Act and you can't legally get fired for 3 months. You don't get paid, but you can't get fired. And as long as you come back within that window, you can keep your job. And I was able to qualify for that. Like my mother and Lee, who I was working with, they figured out how to get that in place for me. So that kind of saved my job. And then I was back that was maybe 3 years into the job that happened. Or 2 or something, 2.5. Mm-hmm. Then I was there for about another 2 years. And then unfortunately it happened again. And the FMLA was in place again. But by the time it was ending, that 3 months, I was really depressed. I wasn't ready to come back. Plus, I was pretty burnt out on the show anyway, 5 years on the show.
Yeah, 5 years of deep political thought.
Yeah, it was a lot to pay attention to all of that news for so long because it was like not only paying attention to the corporate mainstream bullshit news, but also all of the independent journalists. And our show called Redacted Tonight is we had to find the redacted angle, like the hidden angle of these stories and bring that to light through political satire. So yeah, it was a whole lot and I was definitely burnt out on it.
How did you find out about that? Like, to me, that's such a critical piece of information to know of someone who suffers from periodic chronic mental illness. How did you come upon
I'm pretty sure that my
information?
mom figured it out.
That's sick.
My mom contacted Lee about it and looked into it and yeah, that
Wow.
saved my job. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I mean, they were willing to have me back. I'll just say it because I was good at the job.
Of course.
It's a really hard job to do well, to make comedy out of these really dense political subjects.
Niche.
And
when you're talking to your coworkers, I imagine too, working in political, I happen to know just by virtue of you and people that I move in circles with in New York, I know a lot of journalists. Damn, that is a fucked up job, especially for people's mental health.
yeah, I mean, journalism is a fucked up job. Unfortunately, most of the quote unquote journalists in our country are bootlickers that just want to be close to power.
Agreed.
The entire spectrum of corporate journalists are just awful. There really are some great independent journalists that are doing the Lord's work, and it's hard for them to get amplified. Some of them get some level of amplification because of all of the mistrust of the corporate media, and rightly so. But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, journalists have to pay attention to all of this nonsense. When I was working on Redacted Tonight, because I was trying to do comedy to it, I felt like it was just this endless stream of shit, and I'm throwing gumdrops into the stream, and they're just getting engulfed But then I was like, what am I going to just not throw them? I got to throw them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess my question is like, since you're working amongst your peers who are doing a similar type of work, do your peers be like, oh, I don't know if John's doing okay? Like, how did it sort of like slip into like, oh, he's having an episode, we have to like get this thing in place to protect him from having his job? Do you remember like sort of like the back and forth there? Because I imagine quote unquote conspiratorial conversations are happening, and by
Sure.
putting big quotes.
I think Lee, who's the host of the show and my good friend, knew that something was going on, got in touch with my family. I think they figured out a way for me not to go to work. But then I'm just spinning out in DC, like wreaking all sorts of havoc. And honestly, like I have to go back and look at things I've written about to really get all of the DC stuff organized in my head, because there were multiple manic episodes over different years, and it kind of is like conflated in my mind somewhat. And I just do remember like just the second episode, just getting arrested a lot. Like getting arrested and then getting released, getting arrested, getting released, being in holding, getting released, and then finally acting weird in front of the judge and then getting like kept in prison.
Oh, interesting.
So I remember the thing I got arrested for was, and I forgot about this, was I somehow, like somebody's like, I don't know if it wasn't their back door, but it was like a back entrance into their basement was opened or unlocked or something. And I went through it and I opened somebody's dryer and there was like an Adidas tracksuit in there. And I took the jacket.
I remember this.
And I put it on and I left. And I thought at the time that was like purposefully there for me to be able to like change outfits to kind of like hide from whatever government forces were out to get me or something like that.
Yeah.
So I took it, but there was some sort of cameras or something like that. And then I ended up getting arrested, or there's somebody like a detective or something was talking to me, and I was like, and they were like, is this you in this thing? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And they're like, so you admitted? I was like, yes, I do. I don't know. But I mean, I was so manic. But I kept getting like sent to something called CPAC, which is like this other holding facility, but it's kind of like an acute crisis psych ward kind of place that they keep you temporarily, and then they either release you or they send you to a hospital more permanently. So I'm constantly getting in and out of jail, in and out of the hospital. It's really like so crazy and such a conflagration in my head. I really have to sit down and deliberately write about it.
Yeah.
So I apologize if I'm kind of all over the place with it.
Oh, it's okay.
But I do know that I end up getting arrested many times, and then finally I'm going to get arrested. I get arrested and I have to go to court for something. I think it was for stealing those clothes.
Okay.
And I got a lawyer. I remember one time the public defender, even in my manic state, I was like, will you work with me as my lawyer? I'll pay you.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. So we got this guy. So now I have a lawyer. And initially he was like, okay, it's, I think he's in touch with my uncle, my mother, something like that, and my family in some way. They know, he knows I have like a history of bipolar disorder, that I was experiencing a manic episode when this was happening. And he tries to get me into mental health community court, which is this thing where if someone has a documented mental illness and they're, acutely ill while they're committing these crimes, they can go through this mental health community court process and then get the charges dismissed.
I mean, that is a godsend that exists. I mean, I'm sure it's riddled with its own problems, but like,
I don't want to say it's riddled with its own problems.
Then that's great.
I'm sure it's not perfect, but it's not riddled. You know what I mean? Like it's a really good thing. And it doesn't exist in all 50 states, but it exists in a certain number of states. It exists in DC. And there is a push to expand it because it really is great.
Yeah.
Because it really does keep people who are mentally ill from being incarcerated, which is not where they need to go.
I mean, when you said that you were like going in and out, like I know that like in the times where I've been responsible for trying to get you into a hospital, I have followed up with that hospital because you've gotten out before, and I know people have gotten out before who like, either the doctor is convinced or maybe it's like a capacity thing, but like it does seem to me that being put into the system does not necessarily mean that you are going to move through the system. You might be released outward and then kind of end up bouncing back and forth. Like I'm surprised that you were in and out so much, but I know that that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. And I was in and out of the hospital. I got released from the hospital and I was still manic in DC. It was, there's times in New York when I've been in the sense of the psych ER and I've been there for 48 hours and convinced the doctors that I was fine. Sometimes like being like, oh, I'm a comedian and showing them like clips of my stand-up online, like somehow like wooed them because it was like, oh, he's just like he's kind of like a
wacky guy,
or something like that. So in DC, this mental health community court, at first, because I had multiple petty crimes that I did, because I think also like I went into Cosi and I stole some food from there. I did, and I was doing other things. I can't remember all the crimes that I committed, but these little bullshit crimes. But because there were multiple ones, initially the regular judge was like, oh no, he doesn't qualify for mental health community court because it's more than one crime. Here's this plea deal we'll give you.
Okay.
And the plea deal would have, I wouldn't have had to go to jail, but it would have been some sort of fine. It would have been something on my record. And I remember my uncle just really advocating for me, being like, that's unacceptable. That's ridiculous. He was clearly in an episode when this happened. Saying to the lawyers, like, you need to explain this.
Yeah.
And the lawyer pushed back and I was able to get into the community
Shout out to your uncle.
Yeah, for sure. So I was in there, and then the process of that is that you have to go back once a month to see this judge for 4 months, and you have to take drug tests every month, and you also have to have in place a psychiatrist and a mental health plan.
Do they provide those resources?
They don't provide those resources.
Okay.
It's not connected to the court.
Yeah.
I guess some of it is like the drug testing takes place at the court.
Sure.
But they don't I don't know if they actually find you the psychiatrist. At this point I was not manic anymore. I was pretty depressed, you know, and I'm pretty miserable, and I'm like, I have to go to court now. I have to go to mental health court.
Yeah.
And I found a psychiatrist and did that process and got through it and got my certificate.
We got a frame graduated from mental health court.
And they gave me a coin
Love.
And a wristband that says, it was so funny what it said. It said, life is a journey. My mind is strong. So, life is a journey. My mind is strong. It's so weird, right?
It's very AA to get like coins and they get a t-shirt cannon. They shoot the t-shirt at you.
Yeah.
It's good. To me, like, it's so good that this exists because, I mean, I would imagine, obviously there's like so many factors for why people are incarcerated. We all know that, but like the percentage of people who commit crimes because they are impoverished or mentally ill, it's got to be such a huge percentage of it.
Oh yeah.
And
there's a lot of people. I mean, I don't know what the percentages are, but people incarcerated with a mental illness diagnosis, it's a large percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not getting well in these.
No, I mean, the prisons aren't about rehabilitation; they're punitive.
Yeah.
They're about punishment.
Yeah.
In the carceral state, it's awful. So yeah, I feel very lucky. So then it got like, So everything, all the charges got dismissed. Apparently there's just like maybe some record of an arrest or something like that, but I can get that expunged or something if I so choose. But yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky that was a thing that I was able to do and get through, When
you were talking do you have any memories of like the way the police were dealing with you or anything like that?
Yeah. I remember being sort of restrained multiple times. Nobody like beat the shit out of me or anything like that.
Yeah.
And being put in the back of the police car with the leg irons and the handcuffs.
They had the leg irons on you.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then and I remember being in the back of the car trying to like maneuver around like I was like doing like weird sort of like stretching and like acrobatic
doing
moves.
a yoga pose.
Doing like yoga poses like with like going into like a bridge with like the leg irons and the handcuffs.
You love a bridge. You cannot get enough of a bridge.
Love a good bridge. So I don't totally remember all of the interactions with the officers. I do remember them coming into my apartment and grabbing me and pulling me out.
Oh, okay. So they came into your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I guess, thank goodness I was, cognizant enough or smart enough not to like lash out and you know, try to like fight them or anything like that. But yeah, it was just a fucking shit show. It was such a disaster. It was just like this unhinged extended episode in a city that really has, unfortunately, really poor mental health services. DC's really bad for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was just, there were people in my life that were trying to get me hospitalized and it just didn't happen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just burned a lot of stuff to the ground. It was really bad. Oh, and this is kind of wild. I was just out like last week with some comics hanging out in Ridgewood. And there's somebody, he wasn't doing comedy at the time, but I guess he started comedy. And he was living next door to where I was living when I was really manic. I don't remember him at all, but he remembers me.
Yeah, sure.
And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, when last time I saw you, you were in pretty rough shape. And I was like, oh, my God. No. And then he's like, yeah, you remember Phil? I was like, no. He was like, look, I have his number. It's like John's friend Phil or Phil's friend John. We were like checking in to see how you were doing. I was like, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I feel so awkward right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you struggle with the blowback or the history around that stuff, which is understandable. But I also think you have you're a loved and kind enough person that like, if anyone has a negative memory and then they're like, oh, he was in a bipolar, episode, everyone could be like, oh, okay. Obviously.
Yeah. Again, I feel that and I genuinely appreciate that, but getting over it for yourself is different.
Yeah.
It's different. The road to self-forgiveness is tricky. That's all. But I largely, to a good extent I have, like I don't feel bad about myself. I don't feel too embarrassed, but sometimes it's just kind of cringe when someone pops out of the woodworks and it's like, I was around you at your worst.
I remember you.
I remember you at your worst.
Addiction is a similar situation.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm oh my God, 12 years sober now at this point. And there's very few now through time, the passage of time and through people leaving New York City, there's very few people that knew that guy.
Oh, yeah.
You knew that guy.
I did.
And yeah, there's just like moments where I'm like, oh God, like I threw a pizza. I
Tell me about this pizza.
Oh
you threw.
my God, I didn't throw. So the Bedford L Stop, circa Indie Sleaze 2007. The height of Brooklyn in its, warehouse party period. There was a comedian who I was friends with, and I was doing the thing where, like, I had a male friend who was clearly in love with me, and I was like, what? No way. We're just friends.
Kind of string him along a little bit?
Yeah, and I don't even know if it was so conscious. I think I was enjoying the attention on some level, sure, but also, like, had such low self-esteem that I like couldn't fathom that someone would have a crush on me, much less hide it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a combo of those two things. Not my best behavior, not his best behavior. Me and this person don't talk anymore. Fair enough. But I was like mad at him for like trying to hook up with me. And he was like, all right, fine. And he's like, he was walking down the stairs of the Bedford L train, and I held a pizza and I kind of like figured out physics wise where I needed to drop it, where the pizza would land on his head.
Did you get him on his head?
I got it on his head.
That's awful.
I know, and he was like, he like looked up at me, he's like covered in pizza. He's like, now I have to walk you. Like, he's like, I'm so mad at you, but you're throwing pizza at me in public, which means you're so fucking drunk, and I have to walk you home now covered in pizza.
Oh my God.
That's such a shitty person.
That's awful.
So shitty. I also slapped this guy in public once, like on the train, because I thought it was funny.
That's not funny.
It's not funny. I was like physically assaulting this person.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. But I'm like, I don't even know who that. I would never throw a pizza at anybody now. Like slap anyone, none of it. But I was just so fucking drunk. You know, and just like saying crazy shit to strangers, lying, you know, and it's just like so, I feel like that's a person I don't even know. Do you know what I mean? I'm like that person versus the person I am and was sober at that time.
Yeah.
It's not like I was like, sure, I was in my 20s and I was a shitty 20-year-old in some ways, but I was never like that guy. And then I would do stuff that was like Jekyll Hyde. And I was like, fuck, there's like people that like remember. There's people that have that memory of that person. And it's like, ugh, how do I be like, no, I'm not that person, even though they directly have a memory of me being that person. And I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
I can't, you know.
But I mean, you know, actions speak louder than words moving forward.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. Like, speaking of like food and kind of crimes and stuff, it made me think of something. So one of the times that I got arrested in DC was like, I thought that the NSA, the National Security Agency, like the biggest spy agency, was trying to assassinate me. Like that's the U.S.'s biggest spy agency, the NSA. I thought they were trying to kill me. I'm not sure why, but I did.
Well, you're the Messiah.
Yeah, I would probably undermine their power structure.
Yeah, you're always undermining
I'm
power
always
structures.
undermining intelligence agencies' power structures, and they're trying to take me out.
Which I love. Vibes-wise, love.
Come on.
The way it ruins your life, don't love.
Don't love.
Yeah.
So I'm spending money recklessly. I'm burning through all my money. That's a symptom of mania. I go into a Cosi, the fast casual restaurant Cosi, known for their flatbreads. I order said flatbread.
Yeah.
My card gets declined. I think that the NSA have frozen my funds.
This is every broke guy's excuse on a date.
It's the NSA.
there they are again.
Sorry, babe. The NSA froze my funds. I can't get this flatbread. So I try to order the flatbread. I can't do it. I freak out.
Yeah.
I start yelling about the government. I see a garbage bag. I grab the garbage bag. I see banana bread. What? I take the garbage bag. I start shoveling the banana bread off the shelf into the garbage bag. Everybody in the restaurant freaks out. I'm screaming.
Yeah.
The patrons and employees all run out of the establishment.
Yes.
And they lock me inside the Cosi. They lock me inside the building, Andrea.
They're putting you in the candy shop.
They're putting me in the candy shop. They lock me inside the building. They lock me inside the establishment.
I'm just picturing you grabbing the soups and like drinking.
I'm the only one in the Cosi. But yeah, it's kind of hilarious and genius that they did that.
So smart.
So smart. And then they called the cops.
Yeah.
And eventually the cops came and arrested me. And then I was in jail, and I was in a holding cell with somebody else, and I was acting so weird in there. He was like screaming for the warden to get out. He got out of there, and then they put me in some other cell or whatever. It was crazy, man.
So many food. Also, like, so many of these crimes are like crimes of desperation. Like, you can't get food. You know what I mean? Like, it is obviously it freaked those people out and whatever. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's so clearly like it's not like you're robbing a bank, you know?
Yeah, I wanted a margarita flatbread.
And
that's all.
That's delicious.
And I just remembered there was somebody, like the people, I kind of opened up my apartment to like these like young people who really did not have my best interest in heart.
Yes.
And we're smoking weed and they're hanging out and they're making like, you know, sort of my place like a landing pad for them, like a flop house for them.
Bohemian Center.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
That's a nice spin on it. And they're really mean to me. Like one guy
What?
would like kept like sometimes he would just get frustrated with me and he would just be like punching me in the legs. And
What the
and
fuck?
then he was trying to get me to go to the bank to write out checks to him that he could cash.
Whoa.
And I went in the bank with him, and thank goodness the people at the bank knew something was up, and they wouldn't let it happen.
Smart.
Like they thought, I thought I had all the documents necessary to do this sort of thing.
Oh my God.
But they wouldn't let it go through, and he was like furious. Yeah, it was like I was getting
Charles
taken advantage.
Manson shit.
I was getting taken advantage of, you know. Charles Manson.
Well, Charles Manson, cult leader, but like he famously took like, you know, people who were in duress and like got them to give them their money, and not you, this person.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't say he was Charles Manson
I
level.
will.
Okay.
Just people, like, to your point of like, if you're mentally ill, there's people on the fringes of society that are like, ooh, vulnerable person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know?
And then there was somebody else who was mentally ill in his own right who was just hanging out with me. And then I was hanging out with homeless people. I was just hanging out with, you know, just different folks than I usually hang out with.
A different crew.
A different crew, so to speak. I'm alienating myself from all of my regular crew, and now I have my new crew, and it was not going well.
And they're more, it's a colorful mix.
Colorful mix. Let's go with that.
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, it is funny to keep drawing parallels with sobriety, but there are a lot in terms of when you are an alcoholic and you're really like in the depths of it, your regular or non-addict friends, they start to distance themselves from you because they can't like watch it anymore, and they've tried to get you to help yourself and they can't, and it's like they just, for their safety and for yours also, like you're just going to keep destructing those relationships. Then you move into like the den with the other people who are doing the bad stuff.
Absolutely. And some of these people, they have no frame of reference to know you outside of this, but you're vibing with them.
Oh, big time vibes.
There are some pretty damaged people just spinning around out there.
Yeah, they find you.
Crazy finds crazy, dude.
Yeah, of course. Like and now I get real. There was, during the pandemic, a friend of mine started getting very addicted to cocaine. And I was trying to kind of like be the person in his life that was like not on drugs and was kind of like, hey, man. And he used to go to this poker game. So it was a poker game in the city that comedians would go to that was just like this guy's penthouse. This guy was a surgeon, I want to say. And he had a bunch of money, but was like clearly an addict and like wanted to be a comedian. You know, one of these like rich people who just wants to like party and be crazy with comedians.
Yes.
So he'd like brought in this motley crew of just like the worst men I've ever met in my life. Just like truly like a guy with a wallet chain who like crashed his motorcycle and was like cheating on his girlfriend all the time. Just like
awesome.
Just totally awesome guys. And so my friend would go and play poker. This place was just like a flop house in Times Square with just the worst characters imaginable, all on like every drug under the sun, just like gambling from sunrise to sunset. And so when I didn't want to go there. And then finally when I got my vaccine, I was like, all right, I want to like, what is this? You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm going to go with you one time. I go there. Times Square, COVID, weird vibes.
I'm sure.
Empty with like the scariest people. It's you and like the scariest person you've ever seen. And you go like, hello? And then you keep pushing and you're just
Why
like.
Why are you in for this?
Because bipolar disorder makes you attracted to risk. Of course, John.
Okay, your risk levels were high.
They were high. You know what I was up to.
I do, yeah.
But I went there and I was like, oh, this is addict den. You know what I mean? The eyes are all vacant. People aren't like shooting heroin, but it like is that energy of just like people slumped on the floor.
Oh, that's no good.
And like
that's
this
bad.
guy like playing guitar being like, I took mushrooms and coke and ecstasy. Let's see. I'm crowd flipping. I'm like, this is ugh.
So even in your hypomanic state there, you were like, this is not a good scene.
Yes, 100%. Whereas as an addict, I would have been like, nice. Like I would have walked into one of those spaces and been like, paradise.
Oh my God.
Because those people were in the same headspace as me and they wanted to get up to the same things as me. And like, you know, I think I always like held myself to some moral character, but there's some places I've been where I'm like, oh, I was around some bad people. And thank God worse shit didn't happen to me. You know, I got out pretty relatively unscathed around some pretty nefarious characters.
Yeah.
And those little ecosystems are available for people who are kind of lost. And I feel, no, I'm not painting as myself a saint amongst all these evildoers. These people, there were good people in there too. But there is this thing that happens when you're like, I'm getting sober now, where some of the people that are like genuinely your friends on some level, but are still wanting to stay in active addiction, you kind of have like a, I'll see you, friend. You know what I mean? Like, it is a friend.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're like, I gotta stay here, and you're like, I gotta go
over here.
I gotta go over here.
Maybe we'll catch up in a different chapter
I
down
hope
the line.
so.
I hope.
A chapter
Yeah.
where you're in the good side and I say hi to you.
Yeah.
Versus I'm back in the bad place.
Yeah.
It reminds me. Do you know that scene in Superbad at the end when they're both going separate ways and Jonah Hill, I think, is going up an elevator and they're both like waving at each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
It's kind of like that vibes. Yeah.
When you're leaving DC, so you went through the prison system, went through the mental health court, got your coin and your gold star and your T-shirt.
Yeah.
Did you then return to New York after that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I went. So this is like the fall of 2000. No, the summer of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Jersey. I stay with my family, and I'm trying to get my ducks in a row to move back to New York City.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just like, honestly, when everything falls to shit and I end up in the suburbs with my family, I mean, I love my family, but me just being out in the suburbs, I'm like, what am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? You know?
Suburbs. I grew up in like a version of the suburbs, I guess you would say. Vancouver is a city. I interacted with the city a lot. I took the bus in the city. I wasn't like suburban in the way that you would view American suburbs. So now, and I've lived in New York since high school, so I've never had like an extended time period where I've been in the suburbs, except for my husband buys houses in the suburb of Cleveland where he partially grew up. So I've spent some time in the suburbs recently. What the fuck?
No bueno for you?
Is that? Oh my God. If you're not suicidal already, throw. I don't.
Some people love it.
And
Not me.
I don't know how you don't want to put a gun in your mouth.
Oh my God.
And maybe I'm being a coastal elite who like needs a fucking matcha latte at 8 p.m. I'm understanding the stance that I come from New York City where like you can do and see anything at any hour. I don't know if that's necessarily the healthiest lifestyle either, but the urban sprawl, corporate bullshit, sameness, and like I imagine being a person who's depressed in the way, and I'm not saying that you're the suburbs where your family is like that, because some of them are nicer and more individualized, but I'm talking about like American suburbs, highway running through it, malls, all that stuff, like food desert, that kind of thing. I'm like, this is so unbelievably detrimental to people's mental health. It completed the picture for me as to shootings and isolation and why people in suburban areas are struggling so much. I didn't understand what that did to you mentally.
I mean, I agree with some of what you're saying. I think that it depends on the suburb.
100%. Cleveland burbs fucked up.
Really?
I mean, not
like,
all.
I mean, like,
not all
honestly,
of
like
them.
parts of suburban New Jersey are fine, you know, but it's just not for me.
Yeah.
But it's like I have family members that enjoy living there, and
Of
they're doing
course.
fine. But like, for me, there's just, I'm like, what am I going to do there? I feel so isolated. I'm away from what I love, which is getting to do comedy and kind of being immersed in creative scenes in New York. So I was just even though I was depressed, I was coming out of a depression. I started exercising. I was doing yoga. I was trying to get myself out of this depression. And as I was coming out of it, I was like, look, I want to move back to New York. And I was able to get back. This is now the fall of 2019. And I'm just sort of trying to get things going, you know? And then I don't know if you know what happened in like February, March of 2020. There was a global pandemic. And I was like, I'm going to be with my family in Jersey.
Yeah,
you know? Of course. And so it was like, so then honestly, it's felt just like rebuilding for the past 5 years.
Yeah, bouncing against, hitting the ropes, coming back, hitting the ropes, coming back.
And I feel good creatively. I feel healthy. I'm going on 5 years without an episode, which is pretty badass.
Yeah.
And I feel very good creatively. I feel like things are on an upswing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm excited to just keep going. But if I found myself landed in the suburbs, at least not with immediate access to the city, for me, it would dim my sparkle.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, there's the corporatization of America has a lot of sparkle dimming, is all I'll say.
For sure. When everything's like uniform and cookie cutter and there's the same corporate businesses every place and the Walmarts and
my God.
all that shit. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a sin that has been done against the American people that I couldn't really understand until I spent like a period of time in it. And also like I'm a, highly anxious person. For all of us, the last, I don't know how long, decade has been incredibly tumultuous. So I feel like my resilience against like the onslaught of stress has gone down. And I was in the suburbs and I was having trouble sleeping and it was hot and I didn't have anywhere to go. Like I didn't have any community. My husband is there, but he's like working and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go fucking nuts. Like
Andrea, no good in the suburbs.
Yeah, no, I was like, I almost got a hotel room, not to like get away from my husband, but I'm like, I can't, if I'm in this fucking place for one more goddamn day, I'm going to be running naked on the lawn.
Holy moly.
And Dan was like, okay, understood. We'll get you a flight. Like,
get her back to the city.
Yeah, but people have lower tolerances for sameness and monotony. And I just also see people who have lived in that their whole life. And I'm like, you deserve better than this.
Yeah.
And I understand this fear and malaise that the American public feels.
Yeah, but also some of them are fed a particular version of the news that paints these cities as like war zones.
100%. And when I see like a tourist from the Midwest get on the subway and something fucking crazy and scary goes on, I'm like, God damn it. That does happen, but it's also lovely here. You know what I mean? I'm not saying cities are paradises of free of violence or I thought also when you were going through your Mania episode in 2020, one of my main fears and the urgency for me to try to get you into a hospital was my fear that you would be incarcerated because prison systems at that time, we didn't know a lot about COVID and
super scary.
Yeah. And I'm like, it became, obviously it's always pressing to get your friend who's in trouble to get help, but it became much escalated to be like, if he gets entangled into the prison system, the stuff that they were doing, like one of the most dystopian moments of that period for me was an article came out where they were paying prisoners like slave wages essentially to dig graves for patients who died of COVID that had no friends or family.
Oh God.
And I'm like, like there couldn't be a darker headline if I was like, ChatGPT, write the saddest and scariest and most end times headline.
Yeah, that was scary times, man.
And I was, worried, and not, this isn't like placing guilt on you, but I think a lot of people were worried that, including your therapist who I talked to, was like, people who struggle with mental health, it's so important that they don't fall through the cracks during this time. And it's going to be so easy for them to fall through the cracks because New York was a police state at that time period.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and so it was really high stakes.
Yeah, we got lucky getting through that chapter.
Hey.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, those days are done.
Sure. But good times ahead.
Good times ahead.
Let the good times roll. Sorry, the sure was really like sinister.
Yeah, that was weird. But you're like, sure they are.
Sure they are.
I'm going to induce psychosis in you, my friend. What the fuck, Andrea?
Sure.
Sure. You're never going to have a manic episode again, John.
You see snakes coming out of my head.
I'm tripping.
The cause of your manic episodes are actually me.
Oh, the whole time?
The whole time.
Oh, my God.
I'm a time-traveling witch.
So do you want to talk about, you said you wanted to talk about the idea of the tortured genius, the mentally ill genius who during his lifetime does not get his due, but after he dies gets his...
lionized,
idolized. Sometimes maybe there's something right to that,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are folks that are great at their craft, great artists that don't get their due while they're alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, but that is lame though. I will tell you this. I think that say somebody like a Bill Hicks, right?
Yeah.
Great comic who definitely had a cult following and was beloved by comedians, but never really broke through. But then after he passed away, he's had this lasting sort of presence.
Cowboy of free speech.
And he's had this sort of enduring legacy, right? But I mean, I would so much rather live.
I agree. This is my point.
Continue to try your best to put out good work.
Yep.
Than to just burn out. Not saying he burnt out. I mean, he had cancer, but that sucked. I mean, Van Gogh was not appreciated at all. His brother, Theo, was the reason that he was able to afford to live at all.
Yeah.
And his paintings were not recognized for the genius that they are till after he died. Same diagnosis, bipolar, manic depression it was called at the time. He's posthumously diagnosed. It's fine, but
we'll take him.
We'll take him.
Yeah.
He's ours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there is something to that. But you think there's too much they're too romanticized?
Yeah, I mean, it just really gets a bee in my bonnet when I see, Van Gogh is a great example for me because, I was at a Van Gogh museum, I believe in Amsterdam, maybe somewhere in Europe, and I saw these bros looking at his art, being like, "Oh yeah, bro," or whatever. However, bros communicate.
Amsterdam bros.
I know, no, they exist everywhere. Or preppy dudes,
Yeah,
whatever.
okay.
And I'm like, listen, I want everyone to appreciate art. I'm not like, if you're a preppy guy, you can't like Van Gogh. That'd be crazy. But I'm just like, this, there's the lore of the cutting his ear off and all of this, this person was such a tortured, mentally ill genius. And we so love that posthumously. We so just, it's such a good story. And he's viewed as this underdog that people relate to. And I'm like, if you saw, to the bros, Van Gogh out in the world right now, you would hate him. You would think he was scary and you would not champion him. You would be like, this is a disgusting, untouchable person in society. And so it just while I appreciate the art being getting its due, I am just the struggling artist who's mentally ill is such a cinematic thing to people, but the existing examples of those people we hate and want to get out of our sightline immediately.
Yeah, we don't really have room for them in real life while they're here
Yeah.
with us doing their thing. They're completely marginalized, but then only after they're gone, and we can kind of change the narrative of their life to kind of fit how we want to see them.
Yeah.
Do they kind of shine so bright for us? Yeah, I think that's fair. I also think that it's kind of bullshit for somebody to just, be like, oh, I'm in my mental illness. I'm mentally ill. I'm an artist. That's how I am.
Yes.
Deal with it, everybody.
Yes.
Instead of like, oh, having the fucking courage to put in the work to get yourself in a better place mentally, to come out the other end of it and realize, oh, wow, I actually can still make art.
Yeah.
And maybe it's even better because I'm not so erratic. I can be consistent.
Yeah. I met this guy. I used to go to a cafe in Bed-Stuy, and it was like open all night, and it was like a really cool spot. And so I would write there and work there, and like during the day it was like more of a working space, and then at night it would become like kind of a party environment. And I had made some friends in there. I really liked it. Sometimes shit got a little hairy. Whatevs. I know how to work these streets of New York City. I've been here a little bit, but
Yes, you have.
scary situations. But this one guy, he was studying math, and clearly like a brilliant seeming guy. We'd have conversations that I was like, oh, it's so smart, it's interesting. But he was just so hammered all the time. And he was doing this fucking like, I'm never sleeping. I'm so fucked up, you can't even understand. And I just like got to a point where I would just be like, yeah, whatever, man. You know what I mean? I'd be
Get
like,
over yourself.
I've seen this version of a person. You're not like this, you're so smart that like your mind is a burden that I can never understand. It's like, shut the fuck, stop drinking 24 hours a day, moron.
Yeah.
Like it's
bullshit.
You are right. The jaded genius thing that people try to slip into is just a way to stay sick, and they're genuinely struggling. I'm not saying it's easy to pull yourself out of that, but
sure.
But I do think that archetype is definitely harmful in that way. But there's also like mentally ill women. We've definitely discussed this in the past, like how they get institutionalized very quickly, how the label of crazy gets put on women who are maybe just even like forward thinking or whatever, have opinions, wear pants, whatever it may be, but get divorced, be gay. But again, in around the 2000s, the manic pixie dream girl kind of came into focus as a trope in our culture a lot. I remember, what's the movie Against the World? Oh my God. All the nerds are going to be screaming in the comments. Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, I've heard of that movie, but I've never seen it.
Oh, okay. So I had no chance for you to get it. Okay, so Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This character is the main protagonist.
Hell yeah.
It's a pink-haired girl, and he wants her to be his girlfriend so badly, and he's fighting another superhero character to try to like win this girl's love. And a lot of the Bechdel test gals have said like there's a lot of these like pixie cut, short hair, sad girl characters that actually have they don't really say anything at all. Like there's not actually a personality there. There's just the trappings of like an artsy girl. And so the male character can be like, she's so sad, she's so unique, she's so all these things. And I feel like people love the idea of the sad, cute, artsy white girl.
Yeah.
But again, you meet one that's threatening to commit suicide or is struggling with serious mental illnesses, and the sex appeal is not there, and then it's out the fucking window with that stuff, Yeah,
you want like your idealized version of it, but when the manic pixie dream girl is having a nightmare,
yes,
you run away.
Of course.
Yeah, and that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks. That's sad.
And I'm not crying a river for white women because, they're just the only kind of acceptable form of mentally ill woman, because you're like, well, she's still white though, so she's pretty, so I'll care about her. But there's also like, I feel like suicide, women who have had issues with suicidal ideations or suicide attempts, that's portrayed in the media as very like interesting, like a girl interrupted or whatever.
Sure.
But then you meet a person who's suicidal and people are like so repulsed by it and don't want to talk about it and don't want to be near it.
Yeah.
And so it's just similar to like the tortured artist, where it's like we can all be so cultured and interesting and we talk about these, taboo topics, but when we're faced with them in the real world, we turn our backs to it,
Yeah.
and we don't actually like it or care about it. We just want to like sexualize or
Andrea, we want to wait for it to die, and then we want to really, really like
and
it.
get it on a mug.
Get it on a mug. Listen to an album.
Yes.
And then attribute to it what we want.
Right.
In order for it to make sense on our terms.
Project our own qualities onto this person and say, I'm just like this person.
I'm this genius as well.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes. It
That's
makes me
what we want.
so mad.
That's the bee in your bonnet. And
Yeah.
rightfully so. I tend to agree with you. And it kind of pisses you off.
It pisses me off. It
Yeah.
also, like, to, your point about like artists who before your time pisses me off so much. Also, like trailblazers pisses me off so much, because often people who are the first wave of an artistic movement are not the ones who are the like beloved and get accredited for the art form. They're the weirdo that it was too inaccessible in that form, and then the next wave made it more accessible, which is the life cycle of art. But being like I knew podcasters who were at the forefront of podcasting, and one of the hosts was like, yeah, being like the first guy sucks. And I was like, yeah.
Too early.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be like, on the edge or the cutting edge, but not like the bleeding edge.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah. I'll just say, appreciate us now, motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah.
And
you know what? I feel stable. I feel good creatively. I'm so excited for the next chapters. I got an album coming out in January.
Yes, tell us about it.
I'm working on new material right now, more political. Let's go.
I mean, I think my stand-up is the best it's ever been, and I'm going to put together an hour next year, and
Hell yeah, you are.
Yeah, so
yeah, I think my stand-up chops are the best they've been.
Yeah.
And I feel great. Creatively, I'm stoked. I got my solo show.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go, dude.
Let's do some plugs, baby.
Okay. So everybody, just go to jfodlovesyou.com, baby. jfodlovesyou.com. You can watch my special, join the newsletter. You're already listening to the podcast. You can watch the podcast. You can follow me on all the social media sites. Just go to jfodlovesyou.com.
Andrea Comedy 69 across all platforms. Goodbye.
Yours was so much cooler than mine. It was so much more streamlined and awesome. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.